Well, we have some tragic news today. Charvarius Ward's daughter, Amani Joy, passed away on Monday morning. And Charvarius posted a couple hours ago on his Instagram to announce this. I'm going to go ahead and read what Charvarius Ward said, just in case you can't see this on the screen, in case you're on a phone screen. And then I'll read the statement that came from the 49ers. But this is from Mooney on his Instagram. We are heartbroken that our beautiful baby girl, Amani Joy, passed away on Monday morning. She was the best blessing we could have asked for, and her joyous spirit made us smile from ear to ear. She taught us to have patience, trust, and a positive outlook on life. She showed us true strength and bravery. She overcame adversity at a young age and was always happy, lighting up every room with her smile. Having the privilege of being her parents and seeing the world through her eyes has changed us for the better. She will forever be Daddy's best friend and Mommy's little girl. We'll miss you and love you forever, Amani Joy. That is from Charvarius Ward announcing this today on his Instagram. The 49ers then put out a statement following Charvarius Ward's announcement. This is from them. The 49ers family is devastated by the sudden passing of Charvarius Ward's beloved one-year-old daughter, Amani Joy. Amani truly embodied pure happiness and brought joy to all those around her with her sweet demeanor and contagious laugh. We will continue to grieve with Charvarius and Monique while sending them our love and support during this unimaginable time. That from the 49ers. So that happened yesterday. The news of it just came a couple hours ago. I wanted to be sensitive to the situation and not just come out and do a video about it right away. Obviously, Charvarius Ward wanted to announce that on his terms through his Instagram, and then the 49ers added their statement. It is yet more perspective that these are human beings under the helmets that we watch and analyze every single Sunday playing football. And Charvarius Ward, yes, we've talked about the fact that he had a rough start on the field to this 2024 season. But I think it's really important to emphasize that we weren't privy to a lot of this stuff. We did know that Charvarius Ward had been dealing with some of these issues for some time with his daughter, but we weren't privy to the full extent of things. And obviously, now we hear the tragic information this morning. So it is important to treat these players as human beings and not just guys running around for your entertainment. And, this is unimaginable. This is awful, awful news for Charvarius Ward. Charvarius and Monique in our prayers and our thoughts entering this 49ers bye week. Charvarius Ward, by the way, too, I mean, Kyle Shanahan talked about him yesterday, and this probably was after Kyle had learned of the news. But obviously, they were going to let Charvarius Ward announce this himself. The 49ers weren't going to have it come from them first. But he pointed out that the best two games that Charvarius Ward has played this season have been the most recent two. He's been dealing with injuries. Obviously, this tragedy now fully on his plate as well. And this is one reason that the 49ers have striven to build as strong of a locker room as possible so that brother can help brother in times like this. I mean, it's unimaginable to have to go through something like this if you're Charvarius Ward and his family, but the 49ers are going to try to have as much of a support system in place for him as possible in that locker room once they do return from this bye week. So truly sad news. I'm looking through the comment section and I see the condolences. It's great that everybody is able to post those on a public platform. There is a chance that Charvarius is watching this or will watch this at some point. So all of your condolences that are posted here could potentially get in front of him, and maybe we could even share some of these with him when the time is right. So it's bigger than the game, right? It's bigger than just football. I think often we can get lost in that. And it's a rat race every single week. It's this constant need to perform, to yield wins, to fantasy football. Now everybody's talking about that, and a lot of times people can forget about the human aspect of things, and unfortunately we can be tragically reminded of them. And sometimes it's that tragedy to just thrust into your face, like it is in this situation. So we've got the condolences coming through in the comments section. That is good to see. Obviously horrific news to see today. Charvarius Ward's 1-year-old daughter, Amani Joy, passed away on Monday morning. 49ers are on their bye week right now. This is normally laundry day Tuesday, but it's not the same cadence for the 49ers. It's not like they're going to be back in practice tomorrow. It's Pittsburgh and San Francisco on a bye week. So the 49ers are going to get to go home. They're going to get some time away from the team facility. They're going to reconvene for a practice on Monday. That's going to be a bonus practice. And at that point, they will begin installing the game plan for their next opponent, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That game is going to be played in Florida, so on the East Coast. So the 49ers are going to travel coming out of this bye week, and we can focus a little bit more on the NFL and the trade deadline, which is going to be coming before the 49ers play their next game on November 5th. In fact, that's a week from today. It's Tuesday, October 29th now. November 5th is next Tuesday, so that's when the trade deadline is going to be. We're already seeing some moves. I build this as an NFL update. Diontae Johnson, the wide receiver, who actually I mentioned Pittsburgh, they're on their bye week this week. They won last night against the New York Giants. Diontae Johnson was with Carolina, was previously with the Steelers when they played the 49ers last year. He's been traded from the Panthers to the Baltimore Ravens for not all that much. I mean, it was just a pick swap, 5th and 6th round pick swap. And based on what I understand, Carolina's picking up most of Diontae Johnson's contract. So total fire sale mode for the Panthers, the Ravens, and Lamar Jackson coming off that loss to the Cleveland Browns there with Jameis Winston leading the dramatic comeback at the very end. The Ravens are going to add a piece to the puzzle. Ravens have been playing good offensive football this year. The defense, though, has not been nearly as good as we had grown accustomed to from Baltimore. So going to be interesting to see how this team evolves. Obviously, this move doesn't help the defense. It might help the Baltimore Ravens offense. I'd have to say, in how this applies to the 49ers, they should be able to add if they need it, if they want it, and if they need it. And I'm not sure if either of those ring true. But if they want to need more receiving depth, they should be able to get it for not too big of a price. In Carolina, for a pick swap here, I mean, this was, 13 spots up? I mean, it's not like Baltimore had to pay all that much to Carolina for Diontae Johnson. So that's the one trade that happened today. Other news around the league is that the Colts have benched Anthony Richardson, the quarterback picked with a number 4 overall pick in the 2023 draft. It's been historically bad. I mean, if I put this up on the screen, I think that you'll have it visualized, the lack of performance that the Colts were getting from Anthony Richardson. So you want to be further to the right and further up on this graph. And Anthony Richardson is essentially breaking the graph by how far to the left and how far down he is on the y-axis. Spencer Rattler of the Saints, also very bad, but Richardson of the Colts, it's been downright ugly this season. So they're going to Joe Flacco instead in Indianapolis because they're still in contention to try to make it to the postseason. And I think that this is bigger ramifications because you talk about Richardson, he didn't have a whole lot of experience coming out of Florida when he was the number 4 overall pick in 2023. Somebody that's on the opposite end of the spectrum is the 49ers, Brock Purdy. Could zoom in, his dot's right by Patrick Mahomes. A little bit better on the efficiency scale. Purdy, not in the very upper right to begin the season like it was last year. He was kind of in that Josh Allen, Jaden Daniels spot, but he's still in the quadrant that you want to be in. And if you take everything from 2022 when Brock Purdy entered the league until now, he'd be all the way up in this corner. Purdy was the final pick in the draft, as everybody knows, in 2022. Richardson was one of the first picks in the draft. Obviously, completely opposite performance profiles. But the 49ers aren't immune to the quarterback bust. The 49ers, with a very similar type of draft pick as Anthony Richardson, the number 3 overall pick in 2021, picked Trey Lance. So they also went to the well of inexperience. The 49ers did in 2021 to pick a quarterback, the well of potential athletic upside. That's what they thought with Trey Lance, moldable clay. That's exactly what Indianapolis thought with Anthony Richardson, who didn't have a whole lot of experience, but had a lot of potential athletic upside coming out of Florida. And like the Colts, the 49ers thought, okay, maybe this quarterback, maybe this big swing on this raw project of a quarterback can turn into a home run. Well, the 49ers swung and missed, and it looks like the Colts swung and missed as well. San Francisco was blessed to pick up Brock Purdy the very next year with the very last pick of the draft. And Purdy, the difference between him and a quarterback like Anthony Richardson that was benched today, a quarterback like Trey Lance, who obviously didn't work out with the 49ers because Purdy superseded him. The difference there, I think the most obvious one, is college playing experience. Brock Purdy started for 4 years at Iowa State. Anthony Richardson, a season at Florida? Raw prospect. Go back to Trey Lance, a season at North Dakota State. Raw prospect coming in. For years, we had seen the NFL put a heavy weight on athletic potential and athletic upside, maybe even sacrificing the documented track record of being able to play the extremely complex quarterback position. But I think the success story that has been Brock Purdy is influencing the league in another direction. The pendulum might be swinging the other way. The Denver Broncos picked Bo Nix 12th overall. Bo Nix started for 5 years in college. He was at Auburn, and then he went to Oregon. Sean Payton was completely enamored with Bo Nix. Now, Nix hasn't been great. He's in the below average part of the cluster here, but at least he's not a bad outlier like Anthony Richardson. And I think everybody would agree that Anthony Richardson came in with more physical upside than somebody like Bo Nix, but Nix is performing better. So I think that there's a really good chance that Nix went as high as he did in the draft due to the success of Brock Purdy. The ability to play the position is becoming more and more of an asset in the eyes of NFL decision makers who realize that maybe this is too risky to just try to develop ourselves. We need somebody who's already a little bit developed, maybe a lot developed at the college level, so he can plug in and have success at the NFL level. And what do we mean by play the position? Well, why don't we take a look at a clip? Johnny Dell's Football Academy put this up on Twitter. So I'm going to borrow this one from Johnny Dell, where I'm going to put up his handle so you can go check it out. He put this up to show Brock Purdy throwing with anticipation to Ricky Pearsall over on the far side of the field, but the top of the screen. Pearsall, and Johnny put this red line in there. Pearsall is going to break to the right near the 50-yard line. Look to watch. The throw is out right now from Brock Purdy. The throw is out of his hand. Ricky Pearsall is not yet even at the 50, and of course, he's not even looking. So we'll continue. Pearsall turns around. Look at that. The ball's 5 yards away from him. A throw that traveled over 30 yards in the air, if you do the Pythagorean theorem here, if you take a look at the hypotenuse, maybe a 35-yard throw, only the last 5 yards of that throw are in Ricky Pearsall's line of sight, and he makes the catch. Beautifully illustrated by Johnny Dell's Football Academy. He's got a great YouTube channel. I'm going to plug it here at the bottom of the screen in just a second. But first, the point is that Brock Purdy throws with anticipation, throws with timing. I don't think that arm strength is an issue for Brock Purdy either. I mean, you just saw that throw. That was 35 yards or so if you add up the A squared plus B squared plus C squared. If we operate the Pythagorean theorem on the diagonal, he's getting the football out there in time. He's getting it out there accurately, and he's getting it out there with the understanding of what his receiver is going to be looking for and how his receiver can get open. And that is how you showcase an ability to play the quarterback position. It's not a punt, pass, and kick contest. You don't just sit back there and try to heave the ball 70 yards. There are people that thought that Anthony Richardson was a good quarterback just because he completed an impressive deep pass for a touchdown in week 1. They thought that was going to be the be-all, end-all, that Anthony Richardson was good because he put 60 air yards on a throw in week 1. It's not the case. What I just showed you with Brock Purdy there from Johnny Dell's Football Academy on the deep out, that is the ability to play the quarterback position. It's also the ability to play receiver. That's rapport. It's a team sport between Brock Purdy and Ricky Pearsall. So teams want that. Teams want not necessarily the wow physical capability. They want the ability to precisely deliver at the QB position, which is the hardest thing to do in all of sports. I would argue that's the case. And you're probably going to find that if you find a quarterback that's already done it before at the college level. You'll have a higher probability at the very least. Hell, Patrick Mahomes played a long time in college, Texas Tech. Patrick Mahomes then sat a year at the NFL level behind Alex Smith. And then he turned into a sensation come 2018. So some of the greatest quarterback success stories, and obviously Purdy's the one that we talk about because I'm covering the 49ers, but some of the greatest quarterback success stories have come via experience, lots of it, before the NFL. And I think that the Trey Lance, Anthony Richardson experiments, those may not be as prevalent anymore moving forward, just given the way that the differing types of quarterback trials have gone. I'm going to open this up to a 49ers Q&A. I also, let me get Johnny Dell's Twitter handle down here for you guys so we can direct traffic to his site, because I think that he just does such a good job when it comes to these film breakdowns of the 49ers. He definitely needs more eyes on his work. So here it is. I forgot to type this in before we started the show. Here we go. Johnny Dell's Football Academy. Very, very good 49ers film breakdowns. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that he's going to be putting up there. So go check him out on Twitter. That's his Twitter handle. But then you could also type it in on YouTube. He annotates the videos. He narrates them. He's got background covering the game. There's so many people. There's a lot of fake smart that goes on the internet, especially surrounding Brock Purdy. The film watchers, we remember that. That's a lot of fake smart. Johnny Dell's is actually smart. The Football Academy there is actual good stuff. JT O'Sullivan does good work, former NFL quarterback, but watch Johnny's stuff when you do get a chance. All right, so we're going to go to our standard 49ers update, 49ers Q&A. Open the floor for that. I do know that I put the third quarter grades for the 49ers up on the screen. We're going to do that one more time. Last night, when I was still back in San Francisco, did a nice show on the grades that I have up on the San Francisco Standard. But while we're talking about Brock Purdy, he was historically good in this football game during the third quarter on Sunday. This was the first time since at least 2000 that we had seen a quarterback throw for over 100 yards, rush for over 30 yards, and complete 100% of his passes in a quarter since, like I said, since 2000. This is there have been over 26,000 quarters of football played since 2000. Brock Purdy became the first quarterback to log a quarter out of those 26,000 plus with over 100 passing yards, over 30 rushing yards, and a 100% completion rate. Just in case there was any question about whether or not this guy is special, I think that should answer it for you. So the grades for the 49ers are up there on the San Francisco Standard. I'm going to send this over to Mike so you can go ahead and click on the link. It is going to be in the description. The WhatsApp message has been sent to Mike, and now we are ready for the 49ers Q&A. He's adding it in. The third quarter stat is insane. So, and I have a lot more stats in there. I try to be as detailed as I can when I give out those grades. I'm going to have a big performance evaluation for both the defense and the offense over the course of this bye week up on the San Francisco Standard. So I think now is a good time to sign up. You can also sign up for the email alerts. I should get that link to you at some point. Maybe next video, I'll have the email alert link since I have to dig and find that a bit. That means that every single time that I have a new article come out, it will drop within seconds into your email inbox and you can go check it out. We're going to have a lot of in-depth 49ers coverage coming over the course of the next several weeks. 49ers, to be honest, they would have rather been 6-2. You could argue that they should have been 6-2. The Arizona and the Rams losses were both troublesome defeats, tough defeats. That being said, they're not in horrible position at 4-4. Everything is still in front of them. So it's a really good time to evaluate where can this team get better, especially since the trade deadline happens next week before they play another game. Diontae Johnson has moved. I talked about him yesterday as far as guys who might move. I didn't expect the 49ers to pick him up. Somebody like Kendrick Bourne, I would get. You could get him for a very good cost. He's coming off of an ACL tear. Would be good depth. I don't think the 49ers are looking for a top-notch wide receiver one type right now. I think they're looking for depth in the building. We saw the rapport that Pearsall and Purdy already have. That's going to improve. We saw what Deebo Samuel was able to do. We see what George Kittle can do. I mean, he runs routes like he's a wide receiver. They've already got a lot of talent in the room. What they may want to do is continue to insulate it so that they don't have to skip any beats in case other guys do get hurt. Here's a question. Should the 49ers be resting Christian McCaffrey and leaning on Guerendo? Not saying that the 49ers don't need CMC, but I really want him healthy for a playoff push. I think the 49ers will manage McCaffrey in that regard. They finally now have a Raheem Mostert-like back in Isaac Guerendo that fits the outside and inside zone scheme in the type of way that if you're Kyle Shanahan, I think you don't feel bad putting Christian McCaffrey on the sideline a little bit more often. I think that we've seen with Jordan Mason this year, the 49ers, I don't know, it's a reluctance to go to the short passing game when he's in there. Maybe it's a little lack of chemistry with Brock Purdy. He's just not as good of a receiver. He's worked on it, obviously, and he has, I think, 12 targets this year, but that's not enough. When Isaac Guerendo came into the game, Purdy was starting to look for Guerendo much more often, and Guerendo was hitting the holes with that lightning Mostert-like speed that I think fits really well into the 49ers system. I think that Jordan Mason also fits well as a change of pace, a big physical bruiser into the 49ers system. So I think there are roles for everybody, but I think that Guerendo's specific fit, the fact that he runs a 4.3 at 220 plus pounds, which is extremely rare. It's like a Saquon Barkley-like combination. I think Guerendo's physical fit means that he might be able to spell Christian McCaffrey while keeping Kyle Shanahan comfortable more often than somebody like Jordan Mason was able to last year. So with that, you can absolutely keep something in the tank with Christian McCaffrey. You don't have to give him 20 touches a game. You can keep it at 10 touches a game, at least to start, as he works his way back. Being Butterfly says, I think when Mason got injured, it impacted his ability to play, including his ability to catch here. Mason is a physical running back. This guy gets after it. He lowers his shoulder. We have all the Marshawn Lynch comparisons go back a couple years. Business decisions that Trent Williams talked about in 2022 after the 49ers sealed the game up in Seattle against the Seahawks. And you saw the safeties just kind of cower out of the way from Jordan Mason. When you play physically, you accumulate bruises. It's tough to stay fully healthy when you play that physically. So I would say that, yes, there was the AC sprain, the AC joint, the shoulder sprain this year for Jordan Mason that happened against Seattle. It could have compromised him. And he re-aggravated it. He's hurt again right now. So he might be ready. They're going to reevaluate him after the bye. But it's just the fact of life. When you have a physical running back, there is likely to be wear and tear. and that can be an issue. And the 49ers want physicality from all their backs, but Jordan Mason brings an especially big dose of that physicality. He does bring a Marshawn-like dose of it, as opposed to, I think you look at somebody like Guerendo, who's 220, but since he has more speed, it's not quite as violent of a style of running. Roberto says Guerendo's like a rocket, needs to put two hands on the ball during contact. Yes, ball security, really important for Isaac Guerendo. Pass protection, really important too. He did whiff on that block against Overshone on Sunday, and Brock Purdy got blindsided. And one of the biggest miracles of that game for the 49ers is that Brock Purdy didn't fumble when he took that shot. So Guerendo's got to be better. I think the 49ers are counting on Guerendo to be better in pass protection, but running-wise, if his pass protection improvement follows the same trajectory as his running improvement over the first 8 weeks, they're going to be fine. I mean, it's been a joy to see Isaac Guerendo get incrementally more confident every single time he's out there. He is running with a firm foot in the ground now. And it finally came fully to fruition in the run game, specifically on Sunday against the Cowboys. Dexter says, rest Christian McCaffrey, use all three backs. I think that's sort of the idea that the 49ers have when Christian supposedly returns against the Bucs. This is not sealed yet, but if he continues along the current trajectory that we've seen, then Christian McCaffrey should be available for week 10 already? Yeah, it's going to be week 10 against Tampa Bay. Got another good question here. Do I think that this year's rookies save the season with all the injuries that have happened to the 49ers? I think when people say the Super Bowl window has been closed, they're not looking at the fast development of the rookies. Well, anybody that's saying the Super Bowl window is closed doesn't know what they're talking about for the 49ers. That's just a premature hot take that you really can't prove or disprove at this juncture. I mean, there's a lot of teams that are still alive in this race. The NFL is the king of parity. But the 49ers themselves, because of the superstar power as far as veterans on this team goes, they should have the benefit of the doubt. They've established themselves as year in, year out contenders. And until they're eliminated, they're in contention, especially given the fact that they've bounced back from slow starts before. So to say that the 49ers Super Bowl window is closed right now is a joke. And anybody who says that should not be taken seriously for their football analysis. But the point that you bring up here is a really good one. And this is not just because of the 49ers injuries. This is because of the natural flow and the natural fatigue that comes from having gone on 3 consecutive deep runs into the playoffs. The 49ers played 20 games. Those are absolute marathons in each of the past 3 seasons. So inevitably, there was going to be fatigue this year. There is inevitably going to be, I think, a sense from the veterans that a boost was needed. Trent Williams was able to give himself a little bit of a boost, possibly by holding out. He didn't have to go through the drudgery of training camp. He was saying the other day that he feels great now because he wasn't there for the first month and a half of the 49ers work. But the point still stands that this team has gone through so much more than other teams around the NFL. And unlike the Chiefs, they don't have a Super Bowl positivity boost to give them, that shot of adrenaline in the arm. They don't have what Kansas City has been able to benefit from over the course of the past 2 seasons. Instead, the 49ers have just had heartbreak at the end of these 20-game marathons. Kansas City has played 20 as well, but they haven't ended in heartbreak. For the 49ers, it has. So what the 49ers needed from a psychological perspective entering this season was youthful exuberance, youthful energy. And it can't just be, okay, let's ship in a bunch of rookies into the locker room and have them be excited in here, even though they don't play. It had to be guys who put their money where their mouth was, guys who actually performed. And look what the 49ers have gotten. They've gotten a rookie class that up and down the class is performing. We're talking from the first round pick and Ricky Pearsall. He's performing now, all the way down to the undrafted free agent in Evan Anderson wearing his Guardian cap. $280,000 was the guarantee for Evan Anderson, and he did a big cannonball into his pool after he signed with the 49ers coming out of Florida Atlantic. And now he's given the 49ers a good 14, 15 snaps a game from a defensive tackle position. He's been promoted to the 53-man roster from the practice squad. But Pearsall's been good. Renardo Green is now a starting 49ers outside cornerback in those nickel situations. Malik Mustafa is now a 49ers starting safety. Jacob Cowing is delivering it. He had a couple big catches against the Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, they weren't able to hold on to Jarrett Kingston. That was tough because you can't keep everybody. But imagine if, and Dominic Pooney, I can't go through a list without talking about the fact that the starting right guard for the 49ers is a rookie who has yet to give up a sack all season. Dominic Pooney didn't give up a sack throughout his entire time in D1 football at Kansas, and he's yet to give up a sack through about 300 reps in 8 games at the NFL level. That's a total godsend for the 49ers. And you go on to Cowing, the guy that hasn't played as much yet, but is on the active roster, is Tatum Bethune, the linebacker out of Florida State, teammates with Renardo Green. I mean, it's been an epic draft class so far. And what it's done is it's given the 49ers that youth infusion, quality play, so energetic quality play because the guys are actually good, but a youth infusion in what's been, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some level of jadedness in the 49ers locker room. You've been to 3 straight either Super Bowls or NFC championship games, right? 2 NFC championships and then 1 Super Bowl. You saw the 2022 season NFC championship game. Well, let's go back to 2021 first. You saw your 2021 hopes derailed when you had so many injuries, including 2 to your quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo had a torn up shoulder and a torn up hand, and Jaquiski Tartt dropped an interception. I mean, be pretty easy to get bitter after the result of that game. It'd be even easier to get bitter after the result the very next season when we saw Brock Purdy tear his UCL early in the game and the 49ers never had a chance. And obviously, it'd be easier to get even more bitter the season after that when the 49ers blew a lead and lost in overtime in the Super Bowl itself to the Kansas City Chiefs. So when you pipe fresh talent into the room, young rookie talent into the room, you give yourself a chance to turn the page, freshen the vibe in the locker room. Combine that talent correctly with the veterans that are still on the roster and that have returned for this season, and I think you could find the perfect mix that allows you to deliver as a football team. We'll see if the 49ers have found that mix. They're 4-4 right now, but they've historically gotten cooking after the bye week, which is happening as we speak. All right, that's your 49ers update. I know that we unfortunately had to start with the tragic news. Charvarius Ward's daughter passed away. And that's what I'll finish on, just on a more somber note, since obviously, this deserves our respect. Mooney posted on Instagram about this. Amani Joy was the name of his 1-year-old daughter. And the post on Instagram came out this morning, updated everybody on the situation. 49ers released their own statement. And obviously, thoughts and prayers go out to Charvarius Ward and his entire family. Everybody, thank you for watching. I'll be back a little bit later today as we power through the 49ers bye week.